present, as I had requested that one of you must communicate with her so that we can know what that person intends to do with regard to legal representation.
Judge, when we had recall this morning, there wasn't any representation for Bupilong from Mamelodi. So I'm not sure as to there will be anybody coming anytime soon or not.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Marriott, as far as I can recall, I think I requested you to make contact with the particular person. I can't remember, yes.
My lady, as far as I'm aware and can remember, Advocate Light did request the investigating officer to follow up. I'm not aware about any feedback at this point in time.
Mr. Late, can you assist us?
Judge, I'm not in front of a camera at this stage because I'm assisting the witness. Okay. I did ask him and I didn't get any recording. He did inform her as far as I remember, but I haven't heard anything back from him.
Because we are proceeding and the person is not even present or following.
Legal Aid South Africa, in-house.
Okay. Pretoria.
Yes, Pretoria local office.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yes, are we ready to proceed, Mr. Piner? I see before Mr. Piner continues, I see there is a hand. Whose hand is that?
My lady, I'm unsure if my camera is working. It reflects on my end, but I'm not sure if it reflects on my lady's end. It's.
I can't see the face, but I can hear the voice. Is it Mr. Profi?
That's correct, my lady.
Yes.
My lady, I apologize for interrupting the proceedings. I just wanted to place on record before we proceed that I had previously appeared for Patricia Mbasha, being Ubushle being Nkosi. I await confirmation on whether my mandate continues for this part of the seating of the proceedings. Once I have that confirmation, I will confirm with my lady accordingly.
You don't have confirmation to proceed?
Correct, my lady. And so I will continue until I am told otherwise. I just wanted to make my lady aware of that.
That was on behalf of Butlebe Nkosi.
That's correct, my lady.
Thank you, Mr. Pina.
May it please the court, my lady.
Yes. I don't know. I checked. I thought you said you were going to send us something so that to enable you to proceed. I don't know whether that has been uploaded.
Lady, I drew up a notice of corrections and amendments on exhibits F1 and 2 being the statements of Ms. Jacobus.
Exhibits F1.
This notice was forwarded to all the parties involved, as well as your ladyship's registrar, which I was under an impression is still Miss Irene Shipapwe.
Yes.
Which now appears is not the case.
No, she's no longer with us. I think she got another employment. Yes.
So I did forward it. I'm hoping it would reach your ladyship, but it was always also forwarded to Mr. Peter Lake.
Was it not uploaded on case line?
Well, lady, I'm not sure because if I could remember, the direction was documents should be forwarded to Mr. Lake, the evidence leader, and he would see to it that the necessary uploading, if I can refer to it as such, is effected.
Okay, so that is amendments to F1 and F2.
That's correct, my lady.
Let me hear from Mr. Late. Mr. Van Bergen.
My apologies to interrupt. My recollection is that the annexures were H1 and H2.
Not F, yes, that's why I'm getting lost. Can you check it? Yeah, is that correct, Mr. Pina?
Sorry, my lady, it's my mistake.
H1.
H1 and H2. Yes. Sorry, my lady.
Thank you, Mr. Van Bergen. Mr. Late, if I may first find out whether the notice has been received by all the parties involved.
My lady,
yes, Mr. Sibara.
I can confirm that I saw a pop-up this morning of the notice, which seemed to have been loaded into my email on Saturday.
Okay.
And I just want to put on record, my lady, that the notice, I've not even gone through it. In my view, it might as well necessitate further consultation with my client before I do the cross-examination.
All right. Mr. Late, if I may find out, Mr. Pinar, when was this sent to your colleagues?
My lady.
Because I thought, as we agreed, they should have got it far long in advance to enable them to prepare.
My lady, it was already forwarded on the 12th of January.
Okay.
2022.
Mr. Late, can we find out as to whether the documents has been uploaded? Because I looked for it, I didn't get it myself.
I did receive the document, my lady.
When did you receive it?
I received it this morning because I was unfortunately medically indisposed till yesterday.
Yes.
I'm busy uploading the documents at this stage.
I don't know whether is it proper to proceed while the others haven't seen the documents, or they have all of you seen the document?
My lady, may I make a...
Just before then, Mr. Pinar, I'll give you the chance.
Thank you, my lady.
Did all of you receive these documents?
My lady, I have received it.
Okay.
On the 12th of January.
Okay, thank you very much. Does it appears that all of you received the document? Is there anyone who hasn't received the document?
My lady, I did not receive the document as yet.
Did you check your email?
Yes, my lady, I checked, there's nothing.
Okay. Ms. Hasif?
I have not received it, but some members of my team have just informed me that they had received it and will forward it to me now.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I see there is a hand. Whose hand is that? Is it Mr. Govender? I've noted Mr. Miss Govender there. Yes, Miss Govender.
The lady, my attorney received it on Saturday.
Okay.
And they've since forwarded it to me, but I'd just like to place on record that we didn't receive it on the 12th. It was sent late on Saturday on our side.
Okay. There is somebody's hand there. I don't know whether the person forgot to put her hand down, his or her hand down. Are you ready to proceed, those of you who have received the document? Or we can just allow Mr. Pienaar to proceed with his cross-examination of the witness. And then you have maybe today, I don't know when will he finish. In the meantime, you'll be studying the document.
My lady, if I can just come in and propose. I think it will be in the best interest of all the parties that we be given the opportunity to peruse the document, contextualize the document, so that as and when you do clarifications, because in my view, it will as well necessitate us to go back and relook at other evidences which are in the case line. So I'll propose, if it is in order with the court, that if it is proper that we stand down until perhaps maybe Wednesday to
No,
give us.
Wednesday is too far, maybe tomorrow, because if you have received, if the document was, some of you received the document on Saturday,
Yes.
and today is Monday.
Yes.
Well, let me hear the others.
I'm
Just finish and then I'll hear the others.
Yes, my proposal is informed on the fact that I received the document today. I read it, consult with my client tomorrow. Then, because she's not with me now in the office, so it will give me the opportunity to contextualize and follow through the whole proceedings. I'm in the hands of the court, but just a proposal.
Mr. Sibara? Is she attending the proceedings?
She is attending the proceedings from where she is
just
now.
not together in one office. Okay.
Yes. Unfortunately, as I've noted, the court will note that this document got into my email on a Saturday.
No, that's why that is why I try to find out as to whether there are people who didn't receive it. That is the reason, because I've just picked up that if it was sent on the 12th, some of you haven't received it on the 12th. And there are people who didn't even receive it. At least you are better off you got it. All right.
I got it today, my lady. I got it today. It was on my email on
That's
Saturday.
fine. That's fine. Let me hear the others. Miss Kasim, and there is also Mr. Van Bergen.
Thank you, my lady. I received it late, but I've opened it. It's 8 pages, and most of the changes don't seem to be very major. So I think it's something that we can work through during the adjournments in the course of the day. I don't think it's something that requires us to stand down.
Okay, thank you very much.
My lady, morning.
Mr. Van Heerden, you are on behalf of who? I haven't noted you. Yes.
My lady, Dr. Celebano, I'm the attorney. My counsel are not available today and tomorrow.
Oh, yes. Okay.
I informed your clerk. My lady, we haven't received the documents, but I have no difficulty confirming that we will be available and ready for tomorrow, given what...
You have received the documents?
We have not, but when we receive, given what Advocate Hasim has informed your ladyship of now, I have no difficulty confirming that we'll be available tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, my lady.
Mr. Van Bergen, before I go to Ms. Mujerere.
Thank you, my lady. Ms. Hasim actually jumped the gun, but what she said is exactly what I wanted to say. The changes are not of...
There's some noise in your background. I don't know.
Thank
yes,
you,
continue.
The changes are not of a major nature, and I submit that it won't be necessary to adjourn.
It's still continuing. I don't know, unless if there seems to be an echo. I don't know whether is it from your side or...
I apologize, my lady. It was from my side.
Okay. My main concern is that there are those who say they haven't received it, but surely they will receive it in the course of today.
Yes.
Maybe what we can do, I don't know. I'm thinking that even if we can adjourn until tomorrow morning, because I don't want us to waste more time for those to accommodate those who haven't received anything. But I just want to hear all of you first. I can understand that the document, maybe it was sent late, because I had thought it would have long been sent, Mr. Pienaar.
My lady, I submit that tomorrow will give more than ample time for anybody who hasn't yet read it to note that the changes aren't of a major nature, as your ladyship says.
Thank you. Before I come to Mr. Late, Ms. Mujarele.
As please the court, my lady, as I've indicated earlier, I have not yet received the document. So I'm suggesting that we should.
You haven't received the document?
No.
Yes.
So I'm requesting that I be given the opportunity to go through the document after receiving it and maybe also to consult my client.
That can be done in a day. To me, if I say tomorrow, that will be fine. Just to accommodate those who haven't received the document. But let me hear the others. What do they say, Mr. Late?
My lady, the document has been uploaded now. It's
Thank
under
you very
section 412. I
Section
agree with
412.
Yes, I agree with Ms. Sim and Ms. van Bergen. I don't think it's really necessary to stand down till tomorrow. It's not as if there's major differences and major changes to the statements. It's only small things that has been changed, and I believe that Mr. Pinaar can proceed with his examination of the witness because she has been here for a long time and a lot of times already. And as he proceeds with the evidence, with his examination, the people can catch up. It's not necessary to have your client with you while listening to the examination of somebody else. They can consult with their clients as
Mr. Ramaimela, I've noted you. Yes, continue, Mr. Late.
They can consult with their clients as the matter proceeds. Mr. Pinaar is obviously prepared to proceed today. They can do nothing about his proceeding with this witness in the event because they don't have this document that has been uploaded now.
Okay,
it will take them 10 minutes to go through it, not even 10 minutes.
Okay, Ms. Ramaimela.
As the court pleases, my lady, I have nothing to add in respect of the standing down. I just wanted to clarify, perhaps with Mr. Pinaar, whether there's going to be a supplementary, meaning between the tram lines, they will have a supplementary of his client, which will be deposed, because I am under the impression that he is supplementing witness statements that have been made under oath. That is all that I wanted to ask, my lady.
Okay, is that me? You want to answer Mr. Pinaar or Mr. Late?
You know, I was just bringing it to his attention and wanting to find out whether the notice, we will run with the notice, or he will just take the notice as is and make it into a supplementary affidavit, because the changes that are being made are to an affidavit. That's all I'm asking, my lady.
My lady, may I answer?
Yes, you may.
As I have indicated a million times already, this is an inquest. In an inquest, a person's statement is presented to the court, and then that person is given the opportunity to add or to subtract from such a statement. And as I understand it, and I discussed it with Mr. Pinaar, this is only a written part of what the witness's evidence would have been on the previous occasion when she was asked by Ms. Marriott to add and subtract from the statement whether what is correct and what is incorrect. There's no necessity for a supplementary evidence. The witness is here. She's going to testify viva voce to what is said in that document that has been presented by Mr. Pinaar.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Late, for the clarification. I'm indebted to you.
Is that your view, Mr. Pinaar? Which I think is in order because the witness is before us, isn't it?
That's correct, my lady. I concur with Mr. Late's exposition. If the court recollects, when we adjourned on the 2nd of December, it was at the stage where it was put to the witness whether she wants to effect amendments or corrections to her statements, and then in order to be of assistance, I suggested I would draw up a document, and then for purposes to be not unnecessarily delay the proceedings.
Okay.
So then we can proceed on those documents, and from that aspect, once the evidence is concluded, all the other parties are entitled, they can cross-examine on that, etc., my lady.
Thank you very much. Before I ask you certain questions, whether you are ready to proceed, I think there was a Mr. Human, Gerald Human. There was a hand there. I don't even know these other people. Yes, there was a hand. Oh, is that Mr. Van Heerden again?
My lady, Mr. Heeman, I have introduced him to your associate, your clerk, earlier this morning. He will, where I can't fit in today and tomorrow, he will then fit into the proceedings, given the fact that my counsel are not available. Okay. Thank you, Judge.
Okay. Having had the submissions by all the parties concerned, I think that it is not necessary for us to adjourn these proceedings today. The document has been uploaded now. Those of you who had concerns of not receiving the document, it has been uploaded. Go through the document. Your colleagues have indicated that the document is not that long, it's about 8 pages. See what you can do between today and tomorrow. And there are those who have received the document, and they can proceed if they want to cross-examine after Mr. Pinar. Mr. Pinar, I think you are ready to proceed, isn't it?
May I report, my lady? I am able to proceed and I am ready. Yes.
Good morning and compliments, Mrs. Hannah Jacobs. Is it Jacobus? Okay. Neliwe, can you administer the oath?
Judge, can I just call the matter into the record first before I administer the oath?
We haven't done that. That should have been done a long time ago, but it's fine. Okay. Just call the matter into the record.
Okay, thank you, Judge. Today is the 17th of January 2022. We're calling the following matter: Live ESIDIMENI Inquest, case number I001 of 2021. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you very much.
Can I then continue with the oath?
Just before you do that, I just want to put on record that there is this document that Mr. Pinar indicated that he was going to prepare and then send to the parties involved. The document has now been uploaded. There were concerns from other councils that they would like to read the document and also consult with their clients regarding the document, and those that who mentioned that they had not yet received the document, and also concerns that the document was received only on Saturday. We have discussed the matter, and the court has had submissions from all the sides, and it has ruled that there is no need to adjourn these proceedings. We are going to proceed with cross-examination by Mr. Pinar, and those who are ready to cross-examine the witness will then proceed. At this stage, the witness can take the oath. Thank you very much, Ms. Madonzela. Nelly.
Thank you, Judge. Please state your full names for the record.
My name is Hannah Hendrika Jacobus.
Do you have any objections to taking the oath?
No, counsel.
Do you consider the oath binding on your conscience?
Yes, counsel.
Do you
She's
swear
not the
to tell-
counsel, she's my registrar. Continue, Nelisa.
Okay.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
If so, raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
You are hereby sworn in. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. You may proceed, Mr. Pienaar.
May it please the court, my lady. Good morning, Miss Jacobus.
Yes, Advocate Pienaar.
Well, at the initial stage, do you recollect a document was drawn up containing being a notice?
Can you please repeat that? I think you were not that audible enough.
Sorry, my lady.
Yes.
Ms. Jacobus, do you recollect that a document was drawn up and prepared as a notice of corrections and or amendments to be affected to your affidavits that were dealt with during December of 2021?
Yes, Advocate.
And those affidavits were referred to or identified as exhibits H1 and H2. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, Counsel.
Now, the document containing the notice of corrections and or amendments to be affected to exhibits H1 and 2, do you have a copy of that with you?
Yes, Counsel. It's in front of me.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobus. I'm going to, for the sake of convenience, my lady, I'm going to read the document.
Can we just, let me just go straight to the document, just a second for me.
Thank you, my lady.
My lady, it's page 37319.
Thank you very much. 37319.
3719.
37319.
Must I go to the page? Or is it this one? I don't even know where's the numbers.
Yes, I have the document. You may proceed, Mr. Pienaar.
Thank you, my lady. Ms. Jacobus?
Yes, Counsel.
I'm going to commence with the heading which reads Notice of Corrections and or Amendments Effected to Exhibits H1 and H2 deposed to by Ms. Hannah Hendrika Jacobus on 3 August 2018 and 9 May 2019 respectively. Is that correct? You confirm that?
Yes, Counsel.
And then it commences at Exhibit H1, Paragraph 1, at paragraphs 1 to 19 thereof. Do you see that?
Yes, Counsel.
And it reads, no corrections and or amendments are to be effected to the contents of these paragraphs. Is that correct? You confirm that?
Yes, Counsel. Yes.
Then it continues with capital B, add Exhibit H2, paragraph 1. Corrections and or amendments to be effected to Exhibit H2 are as follows. You confirm that?
Yes, Counsel.
And then it continues on page 2, add paragraph 1 thereof. The reference in line 3 of this paragraph to the date of 1 August 2013 is corrected and amended to read 1 July 2013.
Yes, Council.
You confirm that to be correct?
Yes, Council.
And then the next subparagraph, 1.2, all references to Manamela in this affidavit is corrected and amended to read Dr. Manamela. Do you confirm that?
Yes, Council.
Then it continues paragraph 2 at paragraphs 2, 3, 4, 5, 5.1, 5.3, 5.4, 5.5, 5.6 and 5.7 thereof. Do you have that?
Yes, Council.
And the content, no corrections and or amendments are affected to the contents of these paragraphs. Do you confirm that to be correct?
Yes, Council.
Then we continue to paragraph 3. And it reads, at paragraphs 6, 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, 6.4, 6.5, 6.6, 6.8, 6.9, 6.10, 6.11, 6.12 and 6.13 thereof. And it reads, no corrections and or amendments are affected to the contents of these paragraphs. You confirm that, Ms. Jacobus?
Yes, Council.
Then it continues, paragraph 3.2, at paragraph 6.7 thereof. And I continue, paragraph 3.2.1. The third sentence of paragraph 6.7, commencing in line 5 with the words, the space at Calafong is corrected and amended to read as follows. The space at Calafong was to be divided for use by Precious Angels and Anchor House to respectively house children, and the other two, Lechai and Sichove, for adults, psychiatric patients. The NGOs providing care for adult patients and for children were known to the Gauteng Department of Health and did an excellent job. Do you confirm the content of the
I confirm
correction
the
and
content.
amendment?
Council. Sorry.
Thank you. Then paragraph 4 on page 3. I continue at paragraphs 7, 7.1, 7.2 and 7.3 thereof. No corrections and or amendments are to be affected to the contents of these paragraphs. Do you confirm that, Ms. Jacobus?
Yes, Council. Yes, Council.
Then paragraph 5, at paragraphs 8, 8.1, 8.2 and 8.3 thereof. Paragraph 5.1, no corrections and or amendments are to be affected to the contents of these paragraphs. Do you confirm that, Ms. Jacobus?
Yes. Yes, Council.
Then paragraph 5.2, at paragraph 8.4 thereof. 5.2.1, the fourth sentence commencing in line 3 of this paragraph with the words, he informed me, is corrected and amended to read as follows. He informed me that he was instructed by Dr. Manamela to bring all the patients to Anchor House. Do you confirm that, Ms. Jacobus?
Yes, Council.
Then, in subparagraph 5.2.2, the fifth line of this paragraph commencing with the words, she, is corrected and amended to read as follows. She instructed to me to take the 14 and that she was on her way there. We then took 14 mental health care users out of the bus that would be suitable for Anchor House and the other patients were left in the bus. Dr. Manamela arrived later that evening. Do you confirm the content, Mr. Cobus?
The content is still not correctly placed, Council. Dr. Manamela, the bus came, and I contacted Dr. Manamela about the bus, and I said to her that 14 patients can only be taken by Anchor House. And then I informed her that I will identify 14 patients that's suitable for Anchor House. And then she says we must leave everything. Dr. Manamela and Mr. Tubani are on their way to assist removal of patients. So all the patients were left and remained in the bus until the time when they got there.
So what you've added now, Ms. Jacobus, should that be added to this paragraph 5.2.2?
Please, Council.
And do you confirm that?
Yes, Council.
Thank you. Then we have subparagraph 5.3. Add paragraph 8.5 thereof. The reference in this paragraph to Rochelle and Franks is corrected and amended, not amendment, but amended to read as Rochelle Gordon and Dorothy Franks. Do you confirm that?
Yes, Council.
In paragraph 5.4, add paragraph 8.6 thereof. Paragraph 5.4.1, the reference to precious angels in line 5 of this paragraph is corrected and amended to read Anchor House. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, Council.
Then subparagraph 5.4.2, the sentence commencing with line 11, commencing with it was based, is to be corrected and amended to read as follows. It appeared that Dr. Manamela assessed and decided that some of the female patients were moved from Anchor House to Precious Angels. Do you confirm that?
Yes, Council.
Then paragraph 6, at paragraph 9, 9.1 and 9.2 thereof, no corrections and or amendments are effected to the contents of these paragraphs. Do you confirm this, Mr. Cobus?
Yes, I do, Council.
Then paragraph 7, at paragraphs 10, 11 and 12 thereof, no corrections and or amendments are effected to the contents of these paragraphs. Do you confirm the content?
Yes, Council.
In paragraph 8, at paragraph 13 thereof, subparagraph 8.1, line 5 of this paragraph is corrected and amended to read as follows. We could not follow the normal route of audit via the usual process. Do you confirm that, Mr. Cobus?
Yes, Council.
Then subparagraph 8.2, line 6 of this paragraph is corrected and amended by the insertion after the word property, the words at Terrafield. Is that correct? Confirm?
Yes, Council.
Then paragraph 9.
My lady, my apologies to my learned friend for the interruption. If I may just get clarification with regard to the last amendment that he referred to, that's paragraph 8.2.
Yes.
I've looked at the paragraph and it, unless I'm misreading something somewhere, that amendment does not relate to paragraph 13. If Mr. Pinar could perhaps just have a look at the relevant paragraph in Exhibit H2 to make sure that it refers to the correct paragraph. I'm just concerned there may be confusion later on.
Mr. Pinar?
My lady, if the court...
Yes, you can.
Bear with me, let me just scrutinize the paragraph.
Please do. The witness is also listening. She can also do that.
Yes, my lady.
Miss, as the court pleases, my lady, maybe I should clarify it as follows.
Yes.
Ms. Jacobus, do you have paragraph 13 of exhibit H.2 before you?
Of 8.2, I'm just checking the number. This one. I'm just looking at it, counsel.
What is the page of H2?
It would be page 3606, sorry, Mr. van Bergen, of exhibit H2, my lady.
3660?
6.
Thank you.
If we have regard to paragraph 13, the last line 5 reads, and I quote, "We could not follow the normal route of audit."
Excuse me, counsel, my lady, can I just have the page number again, please?
It's
36606.
36606. I don't have that.
It is also page 15 of exhibit H2. If you look at the bottom, you'll see the page number 15.
Yes. Okay. Just go up.
Have you got it, Ms. Jacobus?
Yes, counsel, I'm just reading through it. Just page, let me see.
Paragraph 13.
Paragraph 13, the last sentence, sentence number 5.
The last sentence.
She can look at the whole paragraph so that it can make sense to her.
Okay.
No, up. Yeah, but I want to read at the bottom. Yeah. It's not there. No, it's not there. Can I, my lady, can I address the counsel?
Mr. Jacobus?
Yes,
I don't see the amendment in 13, but what it originally read was terror fields, and we've corrected to tether fields, the name. That was the only change in it.
In this particular paragraph?
Yes, my lady, but I don't see it here now. It concerns the assessment of Rebafeni houses.
My lady, if I may perhaps interject here, that was
Yes, you mean, Mr. van Bergen?
That was my difficulty. Paragraph 13 does not refer to either Terrafield or Tetherfield. Paragraph 15 on page 36607 refers to Terrafield.
Yeah, there's it, yeah.
So I suspect...
Correct, my lady.
So this correction could only be pertaining to paragraph 15.
15, yes.
Mr. Pina?
My lady, I will accept Ms. Jacobus, but I think if I remember correctly, and Ms. Jacobus can clarify that, is in paragraph 13.
Yes.
Well, somewhere along the line, my exhibit H2, the pages became mixed up. because on page 36608, if I can just refer Ms. Jacobus to that.
36608.
Yes, my lady.
Yes.
There's reference. However, there were outstanding rights on the property, and the property has been identified as Tedderfield. I think what happened now with the correction was there was a mixed up, because page, for some reason, I don't know how it happened, but it did. Maybe it's Murphy that interfered here, but the document continued from page 36606 to 36608.
Meaning the document therefore includes paragraph 13.
Yes, my lady, and therefore what the reference in paragraph 8.2 is actually refers to the identification of
the
property to be referring to Tedderfield. Is that correct, Ms. Jacobus?
Yes, Council. Because in the document it reads Terrafield and it should read Tedderfield.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, can we move on?
Thank you, my lady. And then if we refer to paragraph 9 of the notice, it refers to at paragraph 14 thereof. Which says, no corrections and or amendments are affected to the content of this paragraph. Is that correct, Ms. Jacobus? You confirm that?
Yes, Council.
Then paragraph 10, at paragraph 15 thereof. And I read subparagraph 10.1. The second sentence commencing in line 1 with the words initially is corrected and amended to read as follows. Initially, they only had 2 houses and the identification of the third house came only much later, when it was realized that there was pressure in respect of the availability of beds and space to place the mental health care users. Do you confirm that, Mr. Jacobus?
Yes, Council.
Then subparagraph 10.2, the third sentence commencing with France and I is corrected and amended to read as follows. France and I visited the third house and found that mental health care users were already there from Life ESIDIMENI. Do you confirm that, Mr. Jacobus?
Yes, Council.
Then paragraph 11, at paragraphs 16, 17, 18, 18.1, 18.2, 19 and 20 thereof. No corrections and or amendments are affected to the contents of these paragraphs. Do you confirm that, Mr. Jacobus?
Yes, Council.
Then paragraph 12, at paragraph 21 thereof, subparagraph 12.1. Line 1 of this paragraph commencing with the words in respect of the medication is corrected and amended to read as follows. In respect of the medication, we were informed by Dr. Manamela that Life ESIDIMENI was to discharge mental health care users with a month's worth of medication. Do you confirm that, Ms. Jacobus?
Yes, Council.
Then subparagraph 12.2. The second sentence commencing in line 2 with the words "in some instances" is corrected and amended to read as follows. I was informed by NGO managers that the mental health care users were discharged with only a 7-day supply of medication, and due to the chaos and hectic pace of the project, some of the NGO managers did not keep track with the medicine supply of the patients. Do you confirm that, Ms. Jacobus?
Yes, Council.
Then subparagraph 12.3, the sixth sentence commencing in line 7 with the words "we" is corrected and amended to read as follows. We received assistance from Kalafong during the day and mostly Weskoppies at night, which I arranged with the CEO. Is that confirmed, yes, Ms. Jacobus?
Yes, Council.
Then subparagraph 12.4, the seventh sentence commencing in line 8 with the words "we would contact" is incorrect. Is corrected, and amended to is incorrect and amended to read as follows. We would contact the hospital CEO who agreed at Weskoppies Hospital that we attend at the hospital pharmacy at night to come collect and receive the medication we required. Do you confirm that, Ms. Jacobus?
Yes, Council.
Then paragraph 13. Add paragraphs 22, 23, 24, 25 and 26 thereof. No corrections and or amendments are effective to the contents of these paragraphs. Do you confirm that, Ms. Jacobus?
Yes, Council.
In paragraph 14, add paragraphs 27, 27.1, 27.2, 27.4 and 27.6 thereof. No corrections and or amendments are effected to the contents of these paragraphs. You confirm that, Ms. Jacobus?
Yes, Council.
Then paragraph 15, add paragraph 27.3 thereof, subparagraph 15.1. The last sentence contained in line 10 of this paragraph is corrected and amended to read as follows. That is why I went to Mr. Makabate, who indicated that as a result of the chaotic nature of the project, the finance section was still in the process of effecting payment to the NGOs. Is that correct? You confirm
yes,
that, Ms. Jacobus?
Yes, Council.
Thank you. Then paragraph 16, add paragraphs 27.5 thereof, subparagraph 16.1. The third sentence contained in line 2 of this paragraph is corrected and amended to read as follows. I went to Mr. Makabate and he said we were obliged to follow the correct process in respect of paying the NGOs. You confirm that, Ms. Jacobus?
Yes, Council.
Then paragraph 17, add paragraphs 28, 28.1, 28.2, 28.3, 28.4, 28.5, 28.6, 28.7, 29, 30, 31 and 33 thereof. No corrections and or amendments are effected to the contents of these paragraphs. Do you confirm that, Ms. Jacobus?
Yes, Council.
In paragraph 18, add paragraph 32 thereof. The second sentence commencing with I have is corrected, sorry, there's a spelling mistake, correct, and amended to read as follows. I confirm that the transcripts and relevant annexures to the arbitration hearing as annexure HJ1. Do you confirm that, Ms. Jacobus?
Yes, Council.
This document was then dated at Pretoria on the 12th day of January of 2022 and it was electronically signed by myself. Do you confirm that, Ms. Jacobus?
Yes, Council.
Now, Ms. Jacobus, you are also listed on the consequential list of witnesses as consequential witness number 8. Is that correct?
Yes, Council.
My lady, with the leave of the court, I would move that this document, referred to as the Notice of Corrections and Amendments to Exhibits H1 and H2 deposed to by Ms. Jacobus, be received as Exhibit H3, my lady.
Is there any objection to that? Can I hear from the others? Anyone having an objection to the handing in of the document? Ms. Kasim?
My lady, no objection.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone having an objection? I take it that there is none. The document is therefore handed in and marked Exhibit H3. Thank you very much.
May it please the court, my lady.
Yes, you can continue, Mr. Pina.
My lady, I notice it's now appears to be, if I'm not mistaken, 10 past 11.
10 past 11?
No, sorry, my lady, I see it's 5 past 11.
Yes.
I don't know whether it would be convenient to take a tea adjournment at this stage, and then we can continue with Mr. Jacobus' evidence, as it would be with regard to a new aspect.
Okay, thank you very much. Just before we take the tea adjournment, if I may find out, Mr. Pitlela, who has just come on record on behalf of the 3 members of the NGOs. I just want to find out from you if you have got all the documents which have been uploaded on Caseline. Do you have access to Caseline?
Yes, I do have access to Caseline, and I just received an indication of that document that was being discussed.
Did you have, I don't know when you were instructed to represent them, did you have an opportunity to go through the documents, and will you be ready to proceed in these proceedings?
My lady, I got the notice on the 12th. That was the link to the case lines.
Yes.
I did try to get in touch with Advocate Late just to get a proper perspective of the case, because when I looked at, pardon me, when I looked at the number of documents that were there, there's an indication of about 37,000 pages of documents to go through. So unfortunately, it is humanly impossible for one to be able to complete that over a period of 4 days or 3 days.
Yes.
However, when I spoke to Advocate Late, we agreed that the matter might proceed, because at the moment, the indication I received was that my clients were not implicated at all by the witnesses that came before. So, honestly, where they are not implicated, I don't see the need for me to cross-examine. However, I will still need to have an opportunity to go through the documents and the evidence, especially what transpired before. I see that there is a portion which deals with transcriptions on Caseline, which I'll take the opportunity to look at. For now, it would have been greatly of assistance if I knew the sequence of witnesses, so that I can then start by dealing with those statements. Yes. Especially for this week. I see that it's set down for the 17th to the 21st. So if I knew the witnesses that were coming through for the week, I'll then go through their statement and try and prepare along those lines.
Yes. I get what you have discussed with Advocate Late. But in the meantime, just go through the document in case you find somewhere as you go through the transcript where your clients have been implicated. You can just indicate, and then we will give you the opportunity in case you might want to cross-examine them. But in the meantime, what is going to happen, the proceedings will proceed. And as we go along, the parties are informed as to the next witness that is going to testify. For now, we are busy with the evidence of this witness. So the other counsels will proceed to cross-examine the witness. We will take it into account that you have just joined the proceedings. But in case you want to cross-examine, you can just indicate, and then you will be afforded that opportunity. We want you to have enough time to consult with your clients. They have been part of these proceedings. They can also indicate to you as to what was happening and what was not happening, whether they were implicated, because I see in some witnesses' evidence, the names of precious angels and anchors, they've been coming as the witnesses were testifying. That is why I would like you to have time, look at the documents, read the transcript, and just see as to whether you might want to cross-examine or not. In certain instances, you might not find it necessary.
I'm indebted to your leadership.
Okay, Mr. Late, you want to say something in addition to?
Thank you, my lady. With regards to the request by my learned friend just now, there is a sequential list of witnesses on case lines under handy documents. You will find it there. As regards Bopelong Seaman, I got word from Beauty Kikana, the owner. She did not receive a link for today's hearing. I've just forwarded the link.
Just a second. Kekana is which NGO?
Bopelong Seaman, my lady.
Oh, Bopelong.
Yes.
Bopelong
I forwarded the link to her. She will join the proceedings.
That is Beauty Kekana.
That's correct, my lady.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
if you can assist Mr. Pitlela with the page for the sequential list of proposed witnesses. With the page.
It's page 4 to 5, my lady.
Pardon?
All right.
4 to 5.
Oh, 45.
Page 4 and page 5.
Oh, okay.
Where is the witness? I think this is the opportune time for us to take a tea adjournment. Ms. Yakubus?
Yes, my lady.
I just want to warn you that we are taking the tea adjournment. You have been part of these proceedings. The oath that you have taken will continue. You need not discuss your evidence with anybody else. The court is going to resume. It is now, what is the time now? It's 10 past 11. We will resume at 20 past 11. Thank you very much. The court will take a tea adjournment.
May it please the court, my lady.
As the court pleases.
As the court pleases.
Ms. Jacobus, you are reminded that you are still under oath. You may proceed, Mr. Pienaar.
Thank you, my lady.
May it please the court, my lady.
Before, just a second, can we find out if Ms. Beauty Kekana has already joined us? Ms. Kekana, are you part of the proceedings? Okay, let's proceed.
May it please the court, my lady. Ms. Jacobus, at present,
Yes, Council.
Are you a pensioner?
Yes, Council.
When did you go on pension?
1st of April 2021.
Thank you. And until the date of going on pension, were you employed by the Gauteng Department of Health?
Not fully employed, Council. I was asked to remain on to mentor and give over to the person that was succeeding me, Mrs. Lukwadi. So I remained on for a few months until 31st of March 2021. And that was from September, previous September, 2019-20.
2020?
Yes, Council.
Not 1920, then it would have been a long time.
Yeah.
Mr. Covers, in what position were you appointed in the Gauteng Department of Health?
When I started in July 3rd, 1920, I was appointed as the NGO coordinator and then also overseeing Gauteng district clinics, supported Mrs. Sanello, and district hospitals supported Dr. Longkwane in those two districts.
Could you just set out to the court your qualifications?
I'm a registered professional nurse with midwifery, administration, education, community health nursing, and various other smaller diplomas that I've done to assist me in doing my work, and smaller courses as well. When I was
sorry, Mr. Covers, you must just give everybody the opportunity to make notes, please.
Okay.
So just relate it slower, please.
I was appointed, my registration is a registered professional nurse with midwifery. Yeah, I'm blank. With midwifery, community health nursing, nursing education, and administration. And then several other diplomas that I've accomplished to assist me in doing my work, and smaller courses that I've also done in order to effect my performance in the works field.
Now, Ms. Jacobus, do you have any psychiatric training?
Oh yes, I forgot psychiatric nursing too. B.Cur EHR and masters. When I went over to the provincial office, I've just submitted my dissertation for my master's diploma, but I never followed that up because that was when we started with 2013 when I went to the provincial office, and there was not really time to follow that up. And then simultaneously with that, the marathon project started, and there wasn't time to follow up my own personal things to see what was what and what happened. But the academically for my masters have been completed successfully.
Only the dissertation that's outstanding.
No, it was handed in, but I never followed up. With the result, I've never registered for my masters due to the time factor.
Mr. Jacobus, you were stationed where?
At the provincial head office in Gauteng, in the mental health directorate.
I say, where in Gauteng?
The provincial head office in Johannesburg within mental health directorate.
Now, if I understand you correctly, Ms. Jacobus, you were appointed on the 1st of July 2013.
Yes, Council.
With the responsibility to oversee all NGOs in Gauteng.
In Gauteng, yes, Council.
Besides being in control of clinics and district hospitals in SABC and Ekurhuleni.
Not in control. There was a controlling deputy director for clinics and hospitals, but to support them, I was overseeing the district clinics within Ekurhuleni and SABC, as well as district hospitals for those two districts. Supporting Dr. Lenkwane and Mrs. Zanello.
That was in Ekurhuleni and?
SABC district, the Vaal district.
Now, Ms. Jacobus, were you acquainted with the National Strategic Plan 2013-2020?
Yes, Council.
Could you explain to the court what did that entail?
It entails, in the past, the National Mental Health Services under the 1973 Act was generally formulated and only dictated for caring and admission through the courts for mental health care users. And then the strategic plan was formulated by the National Health, sent out to all the provinces, where we had to go through the national document, and from that document we derive with our own provincial document in terms of how to upscale all services, and that is from clinics, from primary healthcare level up to specialist level within each district and each sub-district.
No. Now, Ms. Jacobus, did that plan, strategic plan, also entail the improvement of mental health care as well as the deinstitutionalization of mental health care users?
Yes, Council, the decentralization of mental health services started a few years back with the integration of mental health services, or all program of health services to be integrated within each district to better serve all communities within the district. Within mental health, we will specifically look at mental health per se, in terms of from community level, what is there, how to upscale, how to improve clinics, district hospitals, regional units, as per the new Mental Health Care Act 17 of 2002, and then also specialist hospitals.
Now, in order to perform this task, was a specific team put together?
Not a specific team. We within the Mental Health Directorate, all the deputy directors, with our director, Dr. Manamela, we sat and we went through the national document, and we had to come up for mental health services within that document. When the national health document was promulgated and sent out to provinces, it was then Dr. Ramagopa, who was the MEC then, and Dr. Rispel. There was a workshop with at Kuruleni where we workshopped through their document, and after that workshop we went back to our respective sections within health, where we each came up with a strategic plan how to improve our services. And as I'm saying, we were then concentrating on the upscaling and upgrading of mental health services within Gauteng.
Yeah. The team you were involved with consisted of whom, or how many members?
It was myself, Mrs. Sanello, Dr. Lankwani, Mrs. Mashile, and at a late, that was then when we started with, and then I think, I'm not sure when they started, but then we had a social worker, also a Mrs. Sanello, and Mr. Franz Dobane, who joined the Mental Health Directorate, and we've then sat together and came up with a strategic document.
And did you report, or your team, in any manner?
Yes, Council, we reported
Dr.
directly.
Manamela?
Yes, the Council, we reported directly. Dr. Manamela was our director within the Mental Health Directorate, and we all reported to her. And with the formulation of the strategic document, we were then supported by Dr. Manamela.
Now, Dr. Sophie Lenkwani, was she involved in this team?
Yes, Council.
And
Dr.
Ms.
Sophie Lenkwani is responsible for specialist hospitals within Gauteng.
And Ms. Nonkeba Senelu, was she part
Mrs.
of the team?
Mrs. Nonkeba Senelu was responsible for district health clinics within Gauteng.
And Mrs. Salome Mashile?
Mrs. Salome Mashile was for substance abuse program.
Now, the team you were involved with, did you prepare and draft a strategic plan?
Yes, Council.
And what happened to this strategic plan?
After completion of the strategic plan, it was given over. Just a point of correction, I don't know, yes. After the completion of the strategic plan, it was handed over to senior management within Gauteng, and the document was signed off by Dr. Grosner, who was the head of health at that time. Dr. Grosner.
Now, Ms. Jacobus, this plan, this strategic plan that was drafted and handed over to, or presented to senior management, did you receive any feedback from that?
No, Council.
Now, that strategic plan, did it in any manner provide for the termination of Life ESIDIMENI contract?
No, Council, what we've put in the strategic plan, and during our discussion, we were supposed to look also at Life ESIDIMENI admissions and how are we going to restructure. We had several meetings with Life ESIDIMENI where we then drew up a shortened version for Life ESIDIMENI and us in terms of mental health care user admission. And that was then redirected that any mental health care user, not directly to be admitted at Life, but has to go through the system from clinics or either the mental health care unit or specialist hospitals. And from there, they would then be admitted at Life ESIDIMENI. We were also to have a look at how to increase the number of NGOs within each district and sub-district to accommodate users and to make it easier for Life ESIDIMENI for their admission and to scale down on their services. And that is how we've then worked.
Now, Ms. Jacobus, you referred to the downscaling of their services, meaning what? Referring to what?
We were supposed to downscale the admissions at Life ESIDIMENI so that Life ESIDIMENI should discharge patients to districts. And that is why we had to look at opening up new NGOs, strengthening of existing NGOs, so that patients can then be sent down or to the home environment to strengthen the community services as well. But there was no indication of Life ESIDIMENI closing, so we were just looking at a broad sense in how are we going to restructure the whole of mental health to make it more suitable and profitable to assist all mental health care users and their families and communities within Gauteng province.
Now, Mr. Jacobus, this process, in what year did it commence?
I can't remember the year, but it was the process of implementation of the strategic document.
Yes.
We never implemented the document per se, Council, because as I'm saying, after completion of the document, it took quite some time because remember, you cannot, after drafting the document, we each went and did some surveys within the districts to determine exactly what are we sitting with, what is required and what are we having. And I was looking at also the NGOs, what type of NGOs is necessary within each district, what is available within each district, and we had regular meetings reporting back and discussing in our weekly meetings with Dr. Manamela.
Ms. Jacobus, was there also an intention to downscale the patients at Life ESIDIMENI?
Yes, Council, that is why I've said earlier on, we've looked at the admission criteria of Life ESIDIMENI, admission transferal from our communities, from the district hospitals, from the specialist hospitals to Life ESIDIMENI. And at that stage, according to my knowledge, we were looking at making the service more affordable for the handling of patients within our catchment areas and to strengthen the services. That was our main aim at that stage.
Now, Ms. Jacobus, can you give an indication of what the time period that would be involved in downscaling and performing these tasks in practice?
Council, I've never started with downscaling. It was only on paper, the whole document. And as I've said, I never saw the signed document until after the arbitration process. Then we realized that the document was signed by Dr. Grosner. But at the time when we were working on the document, it took quite some time, as I'm saying, because we were working administratively on the document and went out to all districts to affirm ourselves with the conditions, though we had an idea what is going on, but to make a scientific sort of approach in terms of drafting this. And then also in terms of finalization of that document was never implemented in all the districts.
Now, if it had been implemented, could you give an indication of what the time period involved would have been, or would have been required?
The finalization of the time period of the document was 2020. So then Life ESIDIMENI would have less patients and also a better approach in admissions and to support all services within each district with admissions, etc.
Now, Mr. Kobus, when did you become aware that the contract with Life ESIDIMENI was to be terminated?
Dr. Mamela has informed us, if I can recall back, I think it was in 2014, from that time period, 2014, where it was then announced that Life ESIDIMENI would be closing down.
Was an indication given at that stage within what period had this closure to be effected?
No, no period was given, Council. Only the announcement of the closure of Life ESIDIMENI.
Yeah, you've referred to the time span stretching up to 2020.
Yes.
Did you in any, when you were informed of the termination, were you under the impression it would be up until this, as indicated in the strategic plan, to 2020?
Yes, Council. When we started with the strategic plan and visiting the districts, I've comprised a report for our directorate that indicates at that stage we cannot open up new NGOs, only in certain districts, and other districts we have to strengthen the existing NGOs, and then only we could start with opening up of new NGOs.
Now, once you were informed that Life ESIDIMENI is being closed down, what task was referred to you in this regard?
No task at that stage was referred to me in any point. We were all having our weekly meetings when Dr. Manamela informed us, and with this report.
Sorry, Mr. Kobus, can I interrupt? You say we, weekly meetings. Who are the we, and where were the weekly meetings conducted?
The meeting was within the Mental Health Directorate within our section on a weekly basis. And then we also had meetings with SESAP and all the affiliated NGOs like SEDEC, etc. I think it was on a 2-yearly term basis. And yeah, so then we were informed. And then during our meetings, we were being informed within the meetings of the coordinators with us. Dr. Namela informed also again and mentioned the termination of Life ESIDIMENI, and that we need more NGOs. The district should also look at that.
It was an indication given at that stage. Within what time span must this be done?
According to my recollection, Council, there was no time frame given and no time spent put forward. So we were all, according to me, I was thinking that it's normal and we have to look at that. If she will appoint one of the deputy directors to deputize for her. And I received this deputy letter that I should deputize for Dr. Manamela, and most of them were already on leave. And then she also stated within the letter that I need to give a full report of all the hospitals and NGOs. Then hence my starting point were the formal inspections, or really looking formally at all these things after, towards the end of 2015.
So at the end of January 2016, what had you accomplished at that stage?
I think that we were still busy with a few NGOs. We've done the hospitals, and the hospitals took quite a long time because I was alone. And a normal procedure is the districts were supposed to do the inspections of NGOs. Then I went to the facility and planning section of our head office and asked for assistance from the facility and planning chief director. I've stated what the brief was from Dr. Mela and what I was supposed to do, and I've asked if her engineers could assist me. Then we will start with the hospitals. And after that, I had to sit down with them to brief them. What are we looking at? What mental health services is, and also then after the hospital visits that we would start with the mental health NGOs. And the reason being why only that time, I was waiting for all the coordinators to get back from leave. Normally, as I'm saying, the coordinators will, with their teams, will do the inspections. But because Dr. Manmela says she wants a full report as soon as possible in terms of the termination of this, we need to to give in a report like as soon as possible. And I took it upon me to involve the districts, the coordinators within the district to support. And normally with such a thing, before you go out to the districts, I had to inform the directors or deputy directors within each district that I would be visiting these areas, and that wasn't done in a normal process.
Now, Ms. Jacobus, so it appears to me that regarding the issue of the NGOs, you were being caught by time.
Yes, for the expected time frame. And during at that stage, we still had sporadic meetings within our directorate. And not just me, but all my colleagues voiced to Dr. Manamela that it's the time frame is not suitable. Then Dr. Manamela indicated to us it's not, she's being instructed with this task, and it's not that we can do it as how we function normally. It's unusual circumstances, was her words.
Now, Mr. Jacobus, under normal circumstances, what would the process have been that you would have followed?
In terms of followed what, Council, if you can just be more explicit?
With regard to the NGOs, their suitability, the whole process. You've attended to hospitals and specialized institutions, but there were also NGOs that had to be, which were functioning on district level, if I understand you correctly.
Yes. In terms of hospitals.
That had to be attended to.
Yes, Council. In terms of hospitals, I was looking at all the closed wards within each district. For example, within the Kuruleni was the Natal Spruit. Westkop had a few wards, etc. And then we also, and at that stage when we were discussing this, my intention or my aim was that we prepare, I look at the hospitals in preparation to have downscaled facilities. Because within my mind, I was telling myself, if life is remaining, patients can no longer be sent there and the place is going to close down, where are we going to send mental health care users that's not immediately suitable for NGOs? Because they were normally being sent to Life ESIDIMENI for a period of time until they can be referred to families or to NGOs. So that was one of the briefs that I've mentioned and make Dr. Manamela aware. And then in terms of NGOs, as I've said, within the discussions in our meetings, Dr. Manamela also called meetings with prospective NGOs that wants to open at that time we were still at the RISIC offices. So we were sitting there. So we had several meetings indicating or people that wants to open up. And then the first formal meeting was held at Sterkfontein Hospital for all NGOs. I was tasked and asked by Dr. Manamela to send out a mail to all mental health coordinators that a meeting will be held to inform the NGOs about the opening up of new NGOs. That was the first meeting that was held at Sterkfontein Hospital.
Does this answer your question, Mr. Pienaar?
Mr. Jacobus. But the opening of new NGOs, what was the purpose at that stage specifically?
To make space for Life ESIDIMENI patient that needs to be placed. Within our existing NGOs that we had, and there's quite a number of them, we did not have enough space to place them, and thus we had to look at new NGOs, and thus that was one of the other briefs that we look at, also at closed wards that could be open to support the down referral from Life ESIDIMENI to have enough space.
Now, Ms. Jacobus, you refer to the requirement of obtaining new, if I can call it that, NGOs to receive patients. Can you explain what is the process that had to be followed in order to be able to achieve this, the normal process?
The normal process, the district will inform the mental health directorate and specifically...
Sorry, Ms. Jacobus, can I just interrupt? If you refer to district, what do you mean by district?
If one takes the whole province, Gauteng, in Gauteng there's 5 districts, and that is Sedibeng, Ekurhuleni, Johannesburg Central, Tshwane, and the western side, Krugersdorp, the western side. And within each district, there's a number of sub-districts that will have the mental health NGOs. And then the normal process, the district coordinator for mental health, supported by the district manager for mental health, will inform us with paper that a specific NGO needs to be opened up or that will open up, and they will submit all the documentation to central office, to us for scrutiny. So then, if they send it to Dr. Manamela, she will give it to me. At times, I will receive the documentation directly from the district. I will go through the documentation and then discuss it with Dr. Manamela, and whether the NGO will be opened up, satisfactory for opening up or unsatisfactory for closing down. I will go out with the district coordinator to the specific NGO to reaffirm their findings myself, and if we need extra support, I will get in one of the engineers or consultants to go also out. I will inform them to support, and then we will then finalize the process. That is only when there's challenges observed within an NGO.
Now, what is the process and how does it culminate in an NGO being approved?
The process is the district manager will inform an application from a specific entity or an NGO to open up a new NGO or expansion of an existing NGO. She will then use what we've called in term is a pre-inspection audit report. She will then go with that report to the specific NGO, and according to all the entities on the report, verify everything. And within the formulation of a pre-inspection report, you will also look at the knowledge of the manager, the management team, the board, the community at large, what other services are available, and to get more information of the NGO. Then after that, she will then go, the district coordinator will go to the specific, back to her seniors, where this report will be discussed, and then she will then call another formal inspection with a mental health team, and those team members are the coordinator again, the occupational therapist, physiotherapist, social worker, the environmental health inspector, and then other members maybe are from, depending on what was her findings with the pre-inspection, she can also co-opt other members. And that will be then the medical officer, psychiatrist, infection control officer, the quality officer, and it goes on. And then they will conduct another formal visit. A report will then be finalized and constructed from the normal mental health audit report, accompanied by a single out reports from each specialist. That is your OT, environmental health officer that looks at the bylaws and all that. The physio, etc., the social worker determine where's the patients from, what is the base, and the quality of the community would be conducted already within the pre-audit. They will then comprise and finalize that report. The whole report will then be taken by the district coordinator to her seniors within the district, discussed, finalized, and be signed off by the chief director within that district. And only after it's being signed off with recommendations, it will then come to central office where I will receive the report. I will go then through the report to determine what the findings are, what the situation of the report is, and then set up a meeting with the coordinator and go out to again to that specific to verify the written findings and ascertain myself that everything concurs. Within the pre-inspection report, if the coordinator finds that the mental health care users, or if they've not been formally identified as users but still clients or patients, there's a problem that poses their safety, the action will then be more quicker, where that place would be closed down. They will inform us, we will go out immediately with them, even before the formal inspection. If everything is okay and there's enough time, the formal inspection will be conducted. It will be then signed off by the chief director. It will be sent to me. I will then go back out to the NGO to verify. And depending on the recommendations, if it's a facility problem, we will look at that. And then depending on the challenge at hand, it will either continue or be closed down. If there's room for improvement and the NGO has enough money to do that in a short period of time, they will be given that leeway. But it's normally a process. One can't say it will take from 1 day to a month. It depends. If the NGO applies and everything is in place, there's no challenges, it may take up to 3 months plus to finalize the process. If there's challenges, it can take up to 6 months, a year, or whatever to be completed.
Now, Mr. Jacobus, during this process, is there also a determination made how many patients can be accommodated and what I can refer to as such, what type of patient can be accommodated?
Yes, Council. Normally the type of patients would be identified or made known to the coordinator by the manager. She will, in her application, says, I've got X place and I want to admit, let's say for instance, intellectual disabled patients within my NGO, or chronic mental illness patients within my NGO. That's the type. In terms of the space, that is for daycare centers, we call it spaces, and for 24-hour centers, that is the number of beds. That will be determined by the environmental health officer according to the bylaws of that local authority, where they will measure out, they will determine all the certification that goes along, that is your plumbing, your electricity, etc., all those documents. They will look at that and see if that is all in order, and they will measure out for this X specific NGO can only accommodate 10 patients or 15 patients.
Yeah. Now, Mr. Jacobus, having heard what you've just testified, it's quite clear that a number of disciplines are involved in this process. You've referred to engineers, social workers, psychiatrists, medical practitioners, etc., just to name a few. I suppose structural engineers, maybe, regarding the structure of the specific institution.
Yes, Council. Or electrical or mechanical engineers, like with when I was conducting the hospital settings, I had all those engineers accompanying me and supporting me. And when we found things, we still had to go further and get consultants out to support the process. So the hospitals took quite a long time in a very short space of time to be completed and reports being drawn up.
So I can deduce from what you've testified, Mr. Cobus, this is actually a time-consuming process.
Yes, Council.
It's time-consuming, identifying a suitable NGO, if I can refer to it as such.
Yes, Council.
And even where there's hospitalization is involved, the availability of wards and the suitability thereof is also a time-consuming process.
Council, can I just rectify the hospitalization of mental health care users in a hospital is a total different section. We're just talking about mental health NGOs here.
Sorry,
and
I didn't hear.
Yes, in terms of what I've mentioned, me looking at the closed wards of hospitals, the brief was also from Life ESIDIMENI to place those patients in those wards. So that took quite some time also because the structural damage, vandalization of those hospital wards was quite extensive. So besides the engineers that was supporting me, we also had consultants out to support and finalize the process, the report before, because remember, normally they wanted all costing also to be completed with each report.
So there was a financial issue involved in every instance also that had to be taken into consideration.
Financial issue in terms of the closed wards, yes, and financial issue within NGOs. Normally when a NGO applies to open up an NGO, the NGO has to prepare, must have a place, has to prepare the place according to the Act and according specifications with their own money, and then only the place will then be sanctioned as proven to be correct and can be open or should be closed down. So and there is no money from the department side that we could give to the NGOs. So the NGOs are totally on their own to complete that whole process. And from the pre-inspection, the coordinator will then make that known to the NGO, and even before then the NGO will also, within the application, says we've got a place, it's this far, we've completed everything. And then also in terms of finances, not just the space, not just beds, but we look at everything in terms of personnel, in terms of equipment, in terms of material, if everything is in place, food and all that. So it's a whole cumbersome process that we look at.
If I understand you correctly, Mr. Cobus, under normal circumstances, as you indicated, it's a cumbersome process. It takes time. It's time consuming.
Yes, Council.
Is that correct?
Yes, Council. It's freezing.
Now, Mr. Cobus, you've indicated now, if all goes well,
Mr. Pina, you seem to be having a problem.
Sorry, my lady. Aren't I audible?
Yes, you know.
Just try to continue. Let's hear.
Thank you, my lady. What Ms. Jacobus, if I understood your evidence now correctly, you said if all goes well, can this process be completed within a month, or is it a longer period?
As I've indicated, Council, it can be not a month's time is too short. It can be more or less 3 months or longer. If I can cite an example with one of our NGOs was Sharma, where I was still in the district when they applied. And by the time when I left the district and went to central office, they were still busy with rectification of stuff. And they had a lot of patients. If there's a lot of patients that's sort of mixed, homeless or physically ill, geriatric, we look at all the sections separately. We have to get in the boards because you cannot finalize a process if the board doesn't know what the NGO stands for and how are they going to support the board. The district, other team members needs to be involved, like with Sharma House, we called in social development to assist. Lucky for them, they had a big space, but to sort that out took us, I think it's longer than 3 years to sort that out. And as I'm saying, when I left the district, Sharma House wasn't completed to be sorted out. You look at the reticulous system of plumbing and all that. So I've said we call engineers in to also support and rectify and see what the problem is, what needs to be done, so that the NGO can do the right thing in a short space of time if they have money.
Now, Ms. Jacobus, when did you receive notice or information that the termination of Life ESIDIMENI had to be completed by the end of March 2016? When did you receive that information?
If I can recall back, Council, as I've said, during the 2015 period, and I speak under correction, but we did not receive, I did not hear about the termination period. And then when I received that report, it was only during the, I think, early 2016 that Life ESIDIMENI will be closing down in 2015.
Sorry,
I can
2016.
2016, not 2015, yes.
2016, yes. And I cannot recall even when we had meetings with Life ESIDIMENI family members, where the first one was conducted by Dr. Salabano at the Rent West Center. And I cannot recall that a time period was given. They were just informed that Life ESIDIMENI is going to close down. And then there was another one with the MEC at Waverley Center. And even there, I don't recall a time frame was given because the attendees was just upset about the places going to close down and the people being long within the centers. How's it going to happen? And they've been sort of specified and says there is NGOs and there will be enough space to transfer all these patients.
Now, Ms. Jacobus, did you have knowledge that the process had to be completed by the end of March 2016 and then it was extended till the end of June 2016?
I only heard about the closure in March and then the extension after that.
From whom did you hear this? Who informed you?
Council, I cannot recall specifically who informed, but there was rumors. And remember from the time when the NGO identification was completed, the last report in 2016, there was a meeting, our normal meetings resumed at the directorate, and that is where I went, and then I think, I'm not sure whether Dr. Manamela has told us that the place will be closing down that time.
Ms.
But then I
Mujara,
was
was
given,
it just a second? Ms. Mujara, is there anything that you want to say? I didn't see your hand. I just saw you appearing on the screen. Please don't disturb the screen if you don't have anything to say. You are on mute. Did you want to say something? You are on mute.
I was just rejoining. I had connection problems, my lady.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
May it please the court, my lady.
I have noted, I think Ms. Kekana is present, but let's continue.
May it please
She
the
must
court,
be
my lady.
present at all times. I see she joined late, immediately after the tea break, but let's proceed. I've noted you, Ms. Kekana. The court wanted to explain the issue of legal representation to you and also wanted to find out as to what is it that you have decided, because after your counsel had withdrawn, we didn't know as to what was going to happen. Okay, proceed. Let's proceed. I don't want to interrupt you. The witness, as Ms. Pinar is busy cross-examining the witness.
Thank you, my lady. Ms. Jacobus.
yes, counsel.
When, let me put it this way, you've given an indication to the court of the time-consuming requirement that's applicable with regard to the identifying and ultimately appointing a suitable NGO.
Yes, counsel.
Now, from be it December 2015 to end of March 2016 or end of June 2016, was that a sufficient time period within which to determine and to appoint suitable NGOs to receive mental health care users?
I think by the end of March, all NGOs wasn't ready, but at a later stage, and what I've done with the suitability or identification of NGOs, there was quite a number of NGOs that applied, and most of them was abandoned and disregarded. The ones that
most of them was
abandoned because they weren't ready. There were some challenges or structural challenges. It depends what it was. So we didn't take them.
This question, if you look at this question, counsel wants to know whether would you say that the time frame from December, when you were given this task, 2015, up to March or June 2016, would you regard that time frame as having been sufficient for you to be able to identify suitable and appoint suitable NGOs?
No, counsel. Sorry for that. But no, the time frame wasn't sufficient. We needed more time.
Now, Mr. Jacobus, you've given us a complete exposition regarding the process to be followed. But the end result is a license has to be issued. And who is responsible for that, and what is the process for that to be accomplished?
The end result of issuing a license, to sign off license, Dr. Manamela and the head of the establishment, and in this case it was Dr. Silabano.
Did you, Ms. Jacobus, ever issue licenses?
No, Council, I've never issued licenses.
Was it part and parcel of your function as in the position you occupied in the Gauteng Department of Health?
Yes, Council, in terms of my position, and I was in the position I had to complete the license. Within the license document, there are certain requirements stipulated on that document, and then from the reports being received, and then also the visual inspection of these places, I will then comprise and make up the document and hand it over to Dr. Manamela with recommendation that it's suitable, it's not suitable.
So the ultimate responsibility lay with Dr. Manamela, to whom you presented, if I can refer to as such,
yes,
the file after the whole process has been completed and approved.
Yes, Council, with recommendations that we can issue a license or we cannot issue a license. And myself and Dr. Manamela will discuss each case, each report, or each NGO before it's being signed off in our directorate.
Now, Mr. Jacobus, in the present matter, with the NGOs involved, was this time-consuming process followed and complied with?
No, Council. There wasn't any process followed.
Yes.
Once mental health care users had to be moved from Life ESIDIMENI. Were you involved in any manner, Mr. Jacobus, with identifying the number of mental health care users that had to be removed and transferred to a specific NGO or not?
No, Council, I wasn't involved.
Who were the people that were involved?
Within our last meeting, before we started with the actual inspections and deliberation of the Life ESIDIMENI preparation for that closure, Dr. Manamela has told us within our meeting, she has divided us into pairs. And
sorry, can I just interrupt, Ms. Jacobus?
Yes.
You're saying we. Who are the we you are referring to?
All the deputy directors.
But who are they? Can you remember?
Myself, Mrs. Sanello, Ms. Mashile, Nkwane, Sanello, and Mr. Franz Tubane. So she divided us. Mrs. Sanello and Nkwane was responsible for Waverley. Rent West Centrum was Ms. Mashile and Sanello, and myself and Mr. Franz Tubane was to look at the hospitals and NGOs readiness.
Where? In which area?
In all areas within Gauteng. Remember, we situated at the head office in Gauteng, and we oversee all districts. So myself and Mr. Tubane was responsible to go through all 5 sub-districts within the district to look at the NGOs and hospitals for readiness.
And was that done, Mr. Jacobus?
If you can just be more specific, Council, was what done?
Was inspections actually performed by yourself and Mr. Franz Tubane regarding the suitability of NGOs in Gauteng?
There was no, Council, we didn't do inspections, as I've said, and because of the time frame. And that is why initially with the hospital situation, I was alone in the directorate at that stage. I then approached the facility and planning section, and I spoke to the chief director there to give me support in terms of engineers to do the hospitals. And after the hospitals, I was waiting for the district coordinators to get back from leave, because in normal circumstance, it's a district function. Even after qualifying, they have to follow up and mentor and monitor NGOs. So when they all came back, we then started only with the, not inspections, but looking at all the NGOs within the in all sub-districts. The engineers was very, very supportive in accompanying us also to the NGOs. And we didn't use any inspection tool. We were just looking at the facility per se, though we were working according to the specifications of the tool, but no formal tool has been completed or filled in or anything. And Mr. Tobane was concentrating on the staffing within all these NGOs where we went to.
Now, how did you determine their readiness?
By looking at the building itself, the surrounding within the outside areas, inside areas, and that is the specific areas where the bed spaces, is there enough space for beds? The kitchen area, is that, will that be suitable for the amount of patients that will be housed there? The rehabilitation area, is the place big enough for a rehabilitation area? That was then worked also in, etc. I can't remember all the, but we looked at all the different sections within the inspection tool to determine whether that places can be used or not. But no formal form was completed. As a team with the engineers, we only drafted a short report stating our findings. And in terms of after measurement by the environmental health, at that time, environmental health wasn't even involved. The architect assisted us with that function. And the architect was measuring the spaces for us. He was measuring the number of beds for that facility. And then I was given the task of reporting to Mr. Frans Tobane, who will inform Dr. Manamela of our findings. And that is how it happened.
Now, Mr. Jacobus, you've just indicated to her ladyship that you would look at the building and see whether it was, and determine whether it was suitable. But did you do that in person, or did you do that with the assistance of, be it an engineer of whatever nature, the architect, etc.?
With assistance, Council. Normally, in normal circumstances, if you recall back when I started off with, and that is why I had so numerous short courses, diplomas, etc. Because then I realized, being the coordinator that has to look at a application, you cannot go to a place and say, this place is not right, or I don't know. I've done some financial, OT, structural, architectural courses, short courses, to assist me, and that was from private sector mostly, and where private sector was this thing within HR. There was a place in Johannesburg that will give training in terms of how do you assist with applications, in terms of interviews, how do you observe abstract this thing of a person. So I was, according to me, I feel I was well equipped to do that, but when that task was given to me, I felt I cannot be the end all and decide on my own. Hence, I went to the planning section to discuss this matter with the chief director there, and I explained my situation, and she then, though that some of these engineers was already about to go on leave, they cancelled their leave to remain behind and support. And hence our planning was to start with the hospitals that we've done on our own. And in normal circumstances, we cannot go to a district hospital a district unit or a specialist hospital without the coordinator of that district being present. But because of the time frame, we had to do the hospitals ourselves. I had to wait until all the coordinators are back from leave, and then we started with the NGOs. And that is how, as a team, we decided then, this place is suitable, this place is right, this still needs to be done, that needs to be done, and the measurements would be given. They had to look for beds and complete and start their work.
Now, Ms. Jacobus, you've referred now complying with these requirements with regard to hospitals. Do they also apply to NGOs?
No, Council. Hospitals are a totally different entity on its own. But because for NGO placement, we didn't use the hospital inspection tool, but we look at the availability, similar like an NGO, for all the amenities necessary to have users within that setting.
Now, Ms. Jacobus, during this process, did you tabulate the NGOs that were suitable or found to be suitable where medical healthcare users could be placed?
No, Council, I did not tabulate anything. As I've said, the brief from Dr. Manamela to us was, Mr. Frans Dubane will accompany me, and I have to give everything, all our findings, over to Mr. Frans Dubane, and he will then inform Dr. Manamela. So I did not tabulate or write any report except for the combined discussion that we have in terms of to utilize a specific NGO.
So, Ms. Jacobus, the function that you had been complying with initially was now transferred to Mr. Frans Dubane on the instruction of Dr. Manamela. Do I understand it correctly?
My perception and my observation and what was summoned by Dr. Manamela was that all the findings that we find, I must give to Mr. Dubane, and he will inform Dr. Manamela. So there wasn't any communication between myself and Dr. Manamela concerning that. Mr. Dubane was communicating through Dr. Manamela. In terms of the spaces available and beds availability space, the instruction was also that Mr. Dubane SMS Dr. Manamela immediately after we leave an NGO to inform how many spaces are available.
So, do I understand you correctly, Ms. Jacobus? You never forwarded, for example, a request to Life ESIDIMENI Waverley. We need 10 patients, for example, for Anchor House. Did you ever give any such instruction?
No, Council, I did not.
Who would have been the responsible official to give that instruction or that information or request?
Council, at this stage, and even then, I cannot depict or point to any person, because as I've said, after the identification of the NGOs, I was instructed not to come back to the office by Dr. Manamela because we need more beds. The people don't have enough beds, and that I should be out there looking for beds. And that is how I never attended further meetings at the office. I was outside looking for beds all over.
So you had to obtain equipment?
Not equipment, but the instruction was beds. But as I was looking for the beds, and I was thinking in terms of, because I know what the requirements are for NGOs, though it's not like a hospital or a mini hospital, but you still need some equipment and linen and equipment in terms of your vital equipment. your medication equipment, etc. There's a lot of things that's necessary for an NGO to operate satisfactorily. So besides the bed, I was looking broader than just beds. And hence I went all over where we could get most of the requirements that we need in the shortest space of time. So I was not in contact with any of my colleagues, only with Dr. Manamela at a much later stage.
Do I understand you correctly, Ms. Jacobus? You never gave or made a request or that NGO A needs so many patients, NGO B requires so many patients, that you never gave such information to anybody?
Yes, Council, that's correct.
The only person with whom there was any connection, if I can refer to it as such, was Mr. Frans Tobani.
I cannot say it was him, Council, then I will be preempting or assuming, because I have no idea. The minute I started looking for beds, and I only became known of transferring of patients out when NGOs were phoning myself or phoning Mrs. Gordon that they're encountering challenges, and then we will go and look. And that is how we realized that patients was already started busy placing out at NGOs.
So that never took place at your request, on your instruction?
No, Council.
But if I understand your evidence correctly, Mr. Frans Tobani was authorized to have direct contact with Dr. Manamela regarding patients, or required, whilst you were given more general tasks: obtain beds, see to it that the bed requirements are met, that there are sheets, blankets, etc., whatever is required.
Council, if I can put it this way, in the beginning I did not really realize in terms of it as that. It was only at the later stage when I realized, when I was climbing in and out storms and stuff like that, I said, but I'm just a general worker here. So with that, I regarded myself as just a generalized person in that time. And that is why I said, being in that position, I also looked further than just beds for the NGOs in terms of to look at other equipment and all that. And that is why at the later stage, when the patients was already transferred, I realized that the NGOs doesn't have enough, let's say linen, for instance. And I contacted Dr. Manamela, and then correction, Dr. Manamela, just before then, I think that I assume it was before the placement, she has asked me to go and speak to Mr. Yes, when I said there's not enough linen and we won't have, all the engines are not ready. Then she gave me a name for the closed down Selby, and Mr. Tobani gave me a factory within Babelegi, and that was where the hospital to look for beds. And then she gave me a name of Mr. Maritz that will assist with linen. And we went and see Mr. Maritz, and it took quite some time, I think almost about a week plus before the stuff was finalized. And then he was in hospital, and he indicated to us he will assist because it's for a good cause, but he will also need to call other of his team members in to escalate the process. And I think it was towards the end of June, beginning mid-June, all the linen to all the NGOs were then delivered. The only places that didn't receive linen was El Shaddai and the Rabefeni houses, which catered for all their stuff themselves, from the hospital beds to rectification and everything. And the others received linen. And in terms of payment, the NGOs, I've taken that up with Mr. Makabate, because in terms of, as I've said, if you go back to normal processes, it's an NGO function that needs to see there's beds in place, there's linen in place, everything is in place. And I discussed with Mr. Makabate and says, how are we going to effect payment? Because we as the department has asked the Mr. Steven Maritz to get and to supply this linen, and it came out to quite a substantial thousands of rands. Then Mr. Makabate said he will discuss with this thing, and then we had a short meeting after that. He informed me and says that the NGOs unfortunately has to pay for it, but they can deduct it from their goods and services and work it within that sphere. Which, if you take the subsidy of the NGO, a normal NGO with a normal subsidy, it's only 45% that they can use for goods and services, and that it's a small, minute amount. Normally, an NGO requires much more. When an NGO has conducted all their services in terms of looking after the patients, their maintenance, etc., they still had to aid from their own coffers, from their own pocket, to run and maintain that NGO. So you can see and that takes the enormously period for an NGO to be finalized, because we consider all those processes.
Now, Mr. Kovas, you've just indicated you consider all those processes. Is this in order to conclude that an NGO is suitable to receive patients?
When all those processes were considered, yes, Council, I say yes, but in terms of the preparation for life ESIDIMENI patients, as we were inspecting the NGOs, as I've said, normally environmental health officer with his bylaws will be involved. But because the environmental health officer was not involved, I've asked the architect to assist. And as we go along, if I can just mention 3 NGOs, for instance, Ubuntu, when we went there, they could only house 20 patients. Popolong Sierman, 20 patients. And we went further with all these NGOs, and all those numbers were given through to Dr. Manamela. So we looked at the NGO with everything it needs to comprise, in terms from your dining to your rehabilitation to your washing areas, if it's a 24-hour service. You look at all that, and within that confined space, there should be a specific area for all that. And that will then determine the amount of patients that can be housed or accommodated at the NGO.
Now, Mr. Kovas, when you came to the realization mental health care users are being transferred to NGOs, were you satisfied that this was proper, or was this process being rushed?
I would say the process was rushed, Council. Yes, I wasn't satisfied because, as I said, when I was contacted by this NGO, normally an NGO to us, I will take if I can mention here, El Shaddai called us and says there's 3 patients that we have to remove with immediate effect. They were wrongly placed. And we went out there and we had to make way. And in terms of this process, we didn't just remove patients, because normally when you remove a patient, there's also a process involved where that patient needs to be examined, paperwork needs to be completed before you can transfer from one entity to another. So there we call then in the district, that was now in Tshwane, most of our challenges was in Tshwane. Then we called the district coordinator with Mrs. Gordon's assistance to assist us taking these patients to the clinic. Because from our input, when the NGOs went to the clinic, the first few patients were seen satisfactorily, but afterwards the clinics were complaining because they were not prepared and it's too many patients that needs to be seen. So to escalate our challenge, we then involve the district coordinator because we know they will be helped and they will be seen. And then we will transfer then the patient like that. And then in other NGOs, there were more patients placed than anticipated. If I can take Sharma again, I remember we've identified 20 spaces, but there were more patients placed. And I phoned Dr. Manamela and says, is she aware that more patients are being sent out to these NGOs? And some of them are wrongly placed. Then she says to me, and I didn't have a problem contacting Dr. Manamela. She will answer me immediately. Then she says, yes, she is, but we will sort that out when the process is finalized. But in the meantime, we were sorting out problems. Thereafter, I didn't contact her anymore.
Now, Mr. Kobus, if I understand you correctly now, I get the impression, due to this rushed process, problems were evolving and you assisted as far as possible and within your means to alleviate those problems.
Yes, Council, not just within my means, beyond my means. Remember, my thing was I'm responsible person for Gauteng for all NGOs. And I'm working with the district coordinators on a regular basis. And if an NGO or they call me and says, we experiencing X, Y, Z, I cannot tell them, sorry, I can't help. So I was jumping, and with the good assistance of Mrs. Gordon, we were working endlessly from early morning until late at night to address all these issues. At times it will be just transferring to clinics for minor things. At times it will be major when the NGOs contacted us for patients that's not responding or patients that's ill. Then we will send them to the 3 hospitals that we worked mostly was Mamelodi, Kalafong, a few. Tshwane, very little, because Tshwane has quite a high number of intake, and then Pretoria West Hospital. So these patients would be then admitted to these places with immediate effect. I've also, when I realized the enormity of patients that we need to transport to hospitals, I've arranged with 2 district ambulance services, the one in Tshwane, the one in Cullinan area, where the ambulance manager of that facilities has made the ambulance available to us. Whenever the NGO, if they can't get hold of me, they can contact them directly. They will pick the patients up and take them wherever they need to be.
Lady, I note it's 5-1 at this stage. Would it
Yes,
be...
but how far are you? Because...
my lady, I'm going to move to another issue.
Okay.
So I think it would be convenient if we can adjourn for the luncheon break.
Miss
5-1.
If I can talk to Miss Kekana now.
Thank you, my lady.
Is that Miss or Mrs. Kekana? Where is she? Is she available? I saw she had joined the proceedings, unless if she's struggling with the connections. Miss Kekana, are you there? I see she's writing a lot of notes. Miss Kekana?
Please read up, Duncan.
The court would like to talk to you, and you seem to be busy writing notes. I don't know. Are you available? Because I saw you have joined the meeting, and I can see you're still writing notes. Can you be visible, Ms. Kekana?
Judge?
Yes.
She mentioned that her camera is not working, or the laptop that she's using doesn't have a camera, so she'll be typing throughout.
Yes. Is there anybody who can assist? Will she avail herself, Mr. Late? If she avails herself to your offices, can you assist her?
Yes, correct, my lady. We can.
Is she at your offices?
No, she's not at our offices.
Okay, if she avails herself to your offices, because I don't want to be talking to somebody that I do not see, and I don't have time to be reading everything. She has been writing and writing since she joined the proceedings. I mean, I also have to listen.
I think we should ignore those notices because they're not evidence. But I would.
She must just, if possible, if she can avail herself to one of your offices, just for you to assist her to be part of these proceedings, so that the court can address her.
Yes.
Okay. The witness is warned, and I think this is the opportune time for us to take a lunch break. We will resume at 2 o'clock. Thank you very much.
May it please the court, my lady.
As your ladyship pleases.
Court pleases.
As the court pleases, my lady.